There's a question in the chat. I don't know if you see it. Okay.
Oh, we lost Jack Brokaw.
And that only went to panelists. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. We're getting it.
Good evening, Lyman Moore.
Woohoo!
We've got a little bit of time before we officially start. Maine Inside Out is here. That's cool.
So we'll give families about 5 minutes to join us, and then we'll start our program. Feel free to share the link with friends. Make sure people can get in. All right, the attendees outnumber the panelists. That's a tipping point in a webinar. We're moving in the right direction.
It's so wonderful that we still have like 3 hours of light left.
Agreed, Mr. Giesman, agreed. One of our newest families is on the webinar. They registered this afternoon. That's exciting.
Great.
Darcy, I saw Kennedy today. He grew to this much. This much.
I saw, who did I see today? I saw Cedar and Matthew and Donald and Deontay. Allowell. Saw Hinda.
All right, attendees, we'll give families a couple more minutes to join. And there was a question about whether your microphones and cameras are on. So for attendees, they are not. For our panel, that's who you should see. Those are all Lyman Moore people, part of your support network. So we'll introduce ourselves in just a moment and then share a slideshow with you. And panel, we may actually want to introduce ourselves a couple times, depending on if people join late or how things go. But.
I see some familiar names in the participants. Some past Lyman Moore parents, some Presumpscot parents.
Someone who's already registered as Moore, that's great. That's a good sign.
Oh, and the yearbooks arrived today, and Ben put the notice out, and literally within 15 minutes, kids were there on their bikes to get the yearbooks. Hi, Caleb. Robbie. Oh,
Hey, all right. Nice. Welcome, Rabi.
should we do a first round of intros?
Yeah, let's do it. So, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ben Donaldson, and I'm the principal at Lyman Moore here. I'm actually in my office. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight. We normally would do this event in person, so this is a very different kind of feel. But thank you for joining us virtually. This is the best we can do right now. But we're really looking forward to meeting everybody in the fall and certainly getting to meet your kids very soon. So Ben Donaldson, principal, and I'll send it to Jake.
Hey everybody, I'm Jake Giesman. I'm Ben's assistant principal, and I'm at home, unlike Ben, who's been there since the early morning. So he's done a long day in the building. So thanks, Ben, for doing that. And I'll pass it to Catherine is next on my screen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Catherine Siegel. I'm one of the school counselors. I'll be working with half the 7th grade and the 8th grade next year, but I'm sure I'll meet your kids and interact with them as well. So welcome, everyone.
I'm Darcy Lafayette. I'm the other school counselor. I will be working with the whole 6th grade as well as half of the 7th grade next year. And I will pass to Jane.
Hi, I'm Jane Hubley. Good evening. Nice to see you all here somewhere. I'm the social worker for the building, so I'm available to all the children and staff. To Nancy.
Hey everybody, I'm Nancy Hagstrom. I'm the teaching strategist in the building, which means I primarily work on academics with teachers and students. I'm sort of all over the place every day, in person, I guess. And next year, I'm excited because I will have a 6th grade advisory. So I'll get to know some of your families through that too.
Looks like Rukia's here as a parent again.
So that's our panel and a partial cast of characters, the people who will be supporting and getting to know your kids next year as 6th graders. And the real goal of tonight is for us to spend a little bit of time sharing a few things with you and then giving you an opportunity to share some questions. So if you have any questions as we go, you can add them in the chat, and those messages will go just to our panel, and we'll be able to answer those questions as we go, or at the end, we'll do a response to questions that we haven't gotten to. So any questions you have, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll be able to get to those. So I'm gonna share my screen here. And I'll show you guys, bear with the technology, it's always exciting. A little slideshow that we created. Let me do that the right way this time. If you've seen a school board meeting at all, you've seen way too much of this. All right, but hopefully you can see my screen now. And we're live. So welcome to your first official event as a Lyman Moore family. We're really excited that you're here. To any students who are on the call, welcome. We really look forward to working with you all. And you can see in the top left-hand corner, that's Mr. Giesman. He's our assistant principal. That is one of our 7th graders, actually from 2 years ago, who earned a chance to give Mr. Giesman a hairdo. That's me in the bottom left meeting with a group of kids. In the bottom right, that's a picture of one of our play productions, musical theater. And then the top right is a mural that we have at school that brings to life a saying that we have at Lyman Moore, that we are more together. So thanks for being here tonight. We did introductions, and what we're really trying to do for you is make this transition as smooth as possible. And it can't be 100% smooth because getting to middle school is a big transition. So we're going to make it as smooth as possible for you and for your kids. We also want to invite you to join our school community. That is not something we take for granted or we take lightly. We want families to feel invited and welcomed in our school community. And that's something that each individual gets to choose when they're ready to join, they join. And we are really looking forward to having you. And as I said earlier, we want to hear and respond to as many of your questions as we possibly can. That's what we're up to tonight. And we have a video that was made by the district. And it's a little bit about what middle schools look like across Portland. And we're all sharing this with kids and families so that we can all get a sense of what that's like. So this will take a little bit, and here's the welcome to middle school.
Hi, 5th graders. It's your middle school principals for next year here. I'm Mrs. Santiago, the principal of Lincoln Middle School.
Hi, 5th graders. I'm Mrs. LeClaire, the principal of King Middle School.
Hi, 5th graders. I'm Mr. Donaldson. I'm the principal at Lyman Moore Middle School.
Hey, incoming 6th graders, I'm Mr. Perkle, and I teach language arts, and I'm very excited to meet and get to know all of you and hear what you've been reading. So take care, and I'll see you soon.
In middle school, you can look forward to your whole world getting bigger. You'll make new friends, do a lot of new learning, and have a lot of great new experiences. See you soon.
The math in middle school gets more creative, sophisticated, and fun.
In middle school, you'll have the opportunity to try new things and challenge yourself in new ways. And, oh, how could I forget? You'll also get your very own locker.
Hello, new 6th graders. I'm Miss Carter, and I teach academic language at King. We are so excited to welcome you to middle school next year. In the meantime, have a great summer, and we can't wait to see you soon.
Hi, it's Miss Kay. I'm the music teacher at King. I can't wait to meet all the new 6th graders next year.
Hi, I'm Mr. Maliata at Lyman Moore Middle School. In middle school, you will learn to advocate for yourself.
Hi, I'm Miss McLean. I'm a science teacher at King Middle School, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in the fall. Have a great summer.
Hi, new 6th graders. My name is Miss Hagstrom, and I'm the teaching strategist at Lyman Moore. As 6th graders, you are going to get to explore new ideas you haven't even thought of yet. We can't wait to meet you.
Hey, I'm Mr. Shaddix. I teach social studies at King Middle School. Making the jump from 5th grade to 6th grade can be a whole lot of fun. We're really looking forward to meeting you next year.
Hi, incoming 6th graders. In middle school, you will find lots of caring adults who are going to help you every step of the way.
sixth graders. My name is Mrs. Santiago, and I'm the principal of Lincoln Middle School. We know many of you are getting really excited about your big transition that's ahead of you. Congratulations on a successful completion of 5th grade. We couldn't be more excited as we plan for next year and think about all that we're going to do to welcome you to middle school. We know it's a big transition. You, and probably even your parents, are a little bit nervous for what lies ahead. You've been at your elementary schools for many years, most of you since kindergarten, and you have a group of friends, and you're really comfortable in that building. And we know it's going to be hard for you to make this big transition, but we want you to know that we will do everything we can to help you adjust as quickly as possible. One of the things that we do is we transition you by putting you on what's called a house team. On the house team, you will meet a group of teachers and a group of classmates that come from all different elementary schools around the city. You will have an opportunity to not only be with students that you've known from your elementary school, but to meet new friends and to learn new things and to really get to know your teachers. At all of our schools, we loop for 2 years, which means the house that you're on in 6th grade is also the house you'll be in 7th grade. So we put a lot of time and thought using input from your 5th grade teachers and from your parents into creating those teams so that they reflect a diverse community that we know you're going to love and enjoy being in for 2 years. We can't wait to welcome you to our schools. Have a wonderful summer.
Welcome new 6th graders. I'm Mrs. Bailey, the assistant principal of Lincoln Middle School. As a new middle schooler, you will be part of a community of people called Crew, Lions Pride, or Advisory, depending upon which school you are attending. You and your group of peers will be overseen by an adult who will become your go-to person for answering all of your questions, helping you stay connected to school, and ensuring you're on track with your academics. This community will work together to build strong relationships full of fun and learning. Looking forward to meeting you all. Have a great summer. Bye.
Hello, rising 6th graders. My name is Mrs. LeClaire, and I'm the principal of King Middle School. When you come to middle school next year, you will be part of a team with about 80 other students. Your team will have its own special name and its own hallway where you will travel to all of your classes with your teammates and share the same teachers. We are so excited to meet you in the fall. Bye!
Hello, rising 6th graders. This is Mr. Donaldson, the principal from Lyman Moore, reaching out to welcome you all to middle school and to tell you a little bit about the related arts classes, which are a lot like specials that you take in elementary school. You'll be getting to participate in those next fall when you join us, and we're really looking forward to working with you next year. See you soon.
Hey there, I'm Mr. Hanson and I'm the assistant principal at King Middle School. Bienvenidos. Welcome to middle school. I'm here today to talk to you about the habits of work and learning. We call them howls. Howls are all about the behaviors and mindsets of learning. The cool thing about them is that they're 100% in your control. It's all about respect, responsibility, and perseverance. Have a great summer. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Mr. Giesman, assistant principal at Lyman Moore. One of the coolest things about middle school is all the sports and clubs. There's something for everyone. We have 4 different sports seasons, and each one has a bunch of options: basketball, swimming, field hockey, track, just to name a few, and beginners are welcome. There are also lots of clubs. I've seen newspaper, Model UN, Dungeons & Dragons, Lego Robotics, chess, the list goes on, and we're always open to starting new ones.
Something you have to get used to about 6th grade is the transitioning between classes every hour. It's pretty easy, straightforward, but it's the first 2 weeks that are usually the hardest to get used to.
In middle school, you'll be teached how to be independent and just not to always have a teacher by yourself to help you.
School is like a roller coaster. There's ups and downs. It goes by super quickly and it's a lot of fun. So enjoy your ride through middle school because there will be ups and downs and people experience them differently and it will be super fun and it does go by quickly. So experience new things, try new things, meet new people because the ride through middle school is short and you really want to enjoy it as it goes.
Hey, welcome incoming 6th graders. One thing that you will definitely like about middle school is the freedom. Teachers give you a lot more freedom to expand on your thinking and they give you like the chance to be more of an adult, like a young adult instead of being treated like a child. So I hope you guys like middle school.
I know this next year is going to be different, definitely, than what you're used to, but I know that wherever you go, it's going to be a good experience in the Portland Public Schools District because it always has been for me.
Welcome newcomers to Lyman Moore. You guys are going to have a ball the first time around. This year, you guys are going to have a whole new set of teachers to look forward to. You're going to have some brand new friends from all over Portland and that big building to explore. It's going to be a fun year. Good luck, and I'll see you in school.
So that was a little bit about Portland Middle Schools as a whole, and now we're going to switch to Lyman Moore specifically. But just we've had a few folks join since we started, so I want to just really quickly do reintroductions. I'm still Ben Donaldson, the principal at Lyman Moore.
I'm still Jake Giesman, assistant principal.
Still Catherine Siegel, one of the counselors.
Still Darcy Lafayette. I'm the other counselor. I'll be the one working with the 6th grade next year.
Still Jane Hubley, the social worker for the school.
Nancy Hagstrom, I'm the teaching strategist.
Awesome. So for folks who joined us, if you have a question to ask our panel, you can do that by looking at the bottom of the screen and using the chat function. That message will go just to our panel, and we'll either answer them on the fly or we'll answer them at the end in our question and answer portion. So we'll make ourselves a little smaller there and continue. So talking a bit more about Lyman Moore. So that's the general middle school experience in Portland. But our school counselors are going to talk a little bit about Lyman Moore specifically.
So we do have about 500 students, and we have sending schools of East End, Presumpscot, Riverton, Ocean, Rowe, Lyseth. We also have students coming from private schools as well as those who've been homeschooled in the past. We've got a very diverse population. About 35% of our students come from multilingual homes and families. 16% of our students receive special education services. 48% qualify for free or reduced lunch. 88% of our students led a fall conference in 2019. And 83% of our students have reported that they have an adult at school that they can talk to if they need help. And our very strong belief is that 100% of our students are able to learn and grow.
So we want to give you 3 things to remember. And if you're an 11-year-old, this is probably the really boring part of this presentation. But it's super important for incoming kids and for families to know these 3 things. So first, advisory is a central part of how we connect with kids and stay connected with families, and really support your kid from the time they enter middle school to the time that we send them off to high school prepared and empowered. So in advisory, it's a small group of students that meets together with one caring adult every day. We spend about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes with these groups during each school week. Super important part of our structure. So Monday morning, we start with advisory. Friday afternoon, we end with advisory. That's how we begin and end our weeks together, because we think it's really important to stay connected and for everyone to feel connected at school. The advisor is the person for the families to reach out to first. So that's a person that you'll get to know really well, and who will get to know your kid really well. So kid, advisor, and family are a really good connection. We also do student-led conferences with advisors, kids, and families, because that's a way that we can check on academic, social, emotional progress throughout middle school. So first thing to remember, advisory is a key structure at Lyman Moore to help make sure that your kid is known and cared about.
Second thing to know, it was briefly in the video, that we have howls. So these are habits of work and learning. These are things that if you as a student practice and your teachers practice, then we're going to have a really safe and productive learning community. Those are respect, responsibility, and perseverance. So we spend a lot of time teaching those throughout the year and talking about them, and offering different supports for students and adults who need help with those 3 habits of work and learning. We use a framework called positive behavioral interventions and supports. We also dabble in restorative justice. So we have different frameworks in place to kind of support those 3 habits that we think are really crucial to being a strong community.
So the third thing to remember is that at the middle school level, and this is true for all schools in the district, our grading system is called proficiency-based learning. And That means a couple things. One, it means that we know that every kid can reach a high standard of academics, and we believe it. And so all of our classes are aligned to state and national standards. One example would be that in science, one of the standards is astronomy. So all sixth graders would work on astronomy, and they would be working towards getting a 3 or above to say that they'd met the standard. When you see a 3 or above on your student's report card or on an assignment, or if they come home and say, I got a 3, that's a really great thing. And it means that they're at grade level for that particular learning target or standard or assignment. The other really important thing about proficiency is that when you look at a PBL system, as we call it, a proficiency-based learning system, we separate academics from habits of work and learning, because we know that they're not the same thing. And when I was getting graded in middle school and high school, it was all lumped together. So if I was really shy and I didn't talk a lot in class, I might have had a lower grade because I wasn't persevering to talk in class when maybe I should have. But maybe my academics were really strong. So we're trying to report out on those really two distinct pieces of student experience to get a full picture of kids and be able to accurately know where kids are with academics as well as with work habits. That's a lot of information, and you'll get a lot more. Big picture, when your kids are saying, what grade should I get? They're looking for the 3. And it's okay if they don't get it the first time around. Part of the system is that they can revise and they can practice, and that's all part of learning, and it's really good learning.
Ms. Lafayette, could you unmute and talk a little bit about groups?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm currently in the process of placing students in their house groupings. And those are the 2 learning communities that we have in every grade. And we balance them by sending school, demographics, needs, both in turn, and both abilities and strengths, as well as input from 5th grade teachers. Our 5th grade teachers fill out a very extensive survey for each of their students coming to us that gives us a lot of information about how they do academically, what they need to be successful, what supports they anticipate that the students may need in order to do well with us. And we use all of that information to place students on their house teams, and then also to make sure that we have created programming for them that will help them to be successful in middle school.
So students and families will learn which of the 2 houses they've been assigned to by a letter that will be sent home this summer. And what that means is that your core 4 classes, math, science, ELA, and social studies, will be with the same teachers for 6th and 7th grade. The related arts classes, those things more like specials from elementary, those are mixed between the houses. So if you're in the house that's not the same as your friend, you could have a related arts class, phys ed or music or computer. You could have those classes with friends from the other house. So that information will be mailed home this summer, and then we can follow up from there. So a question came through in the chat, and so here it is, a day in the life. This is what a typical Monday looks like at school when we're there and fully engaged in in-person learning. So it's certainly our goal that this will be happening in the fall. Couple things just to point out on this slide. Advisory is the start of the school day, and that's about the first half an hour. And yes, it is early, especially transitioning from elementary school. We start at 7:45, so kids are in the building by 7:40, and in their advisory at 7:45 to be on time. So that's a big transition in middle school. So in 6th grade, some of our students would then head to an English language arts class for just about 50 minutes. And then they would transition and go and be with a new grouping of kids, not the same group from their block 1 when they go to their math class. So again, they're there for about 50 minutes. They learn a lot of great math. then they switch and go with a new group of kids in social studies for about the same. Then they get a break for lunch, stretch their legs, and re-energize for the afternoon, where they'll have science. And then, whoops, sorry about that. And then blocks 5 and block 6 will look different for each kid, but this is where the related arts or specials come in. So in 6th grade, kids take phys ed, computer science, fundamentals of music, and then typically a world language class, Spanish, French, or American Sign Language. These lab classes are for additional support. So if a student needs some extra help in math, then they would take a math lab class in place of one of those related arts. If a student needs literacy support, then they could take a literacy lab class or an academic language class that would fit in there as well, in place of one of those other classes, because we know that when kids need extra support, they're not just going to magically gain those skills. We have to provide the support kids need.
Mr. Donaldson?
One last thing, and then we can go to you, Miss Lafayette.
I was just going to say, someone in the chat just asked about red and blue days. This might be a perfect example to explain that.
Gotcha. Yep. So every day ends with an early bus at 2:15 and kids head home. We also have teachers here 4 days a week to provide free tutoring to families and to kids. So that's for an hour. Technically it's after school, but then kids are able to ride a late bus home or walk or ride a bike home at 3:15. So we kind of have the end of the school day at 2:15 or 3:15, depending on who's participating in clubs or getting support or those types of things. As Ms. Lafayette mentioned, the red day, blue day split. These related arts classes for this student in 5 and 6, those meet every other day. So on a red day, a kid might have PE, and the next day they might have their computer science class, and then they alternate back and forth. The other classes up here, these ones meet every day. So ELA, math, social studies, and science, the kid would have those classes every day. But these ones down here, every other. So that's the kind of normal schedule. Like I said, we're really hoping that we can have everybody in person in the fall and be able to run these schedules. And if not, we will be running something as close to this as possible.
There are a couple questions about physical activity and breaks and fresh air. So I'll point out just a couple things on the schedule. Yes, advisory starts at 7:45, but we do have students who come earlier, and myself and the ed techs are all there starting at 7:20 at least to supervise fun activities. When it's nice out, we're playing outside. When it's not nice out, we have activities going on inside. I'm typically in the building by 7 for those of you who have really early work schedules and need to drop your kids off. In between each class, there is a passing time. If we can get our act together, there's going to be music in the hallways for each passing time. So maybe a little dance break chance. And at the end of the day, yeah, teacher support, but there's also all these after school activities and sports, and some of those run way into the evening. And on top of that, I just say that in my office, we have what's called a reset room, reset space. So if you really have the wiggles and you really just can't focus, come on down. We'll talk to you. Maybe I'll let you run around outside. We'll take care of you and make sure that you can get your brain on to go back to class and keep on with the learning.
Nice. Any other thoughts on schedule generally from questions or from the panel?
There are a lot of questions on this, so we might come back to it at the end, scroll through.
Yeah. We're at questions, so we can keep that up there if that's a good point to refer to, but Ms. Hagstrom's gonna help us address questions that people have shared just with a panel. So maybe if we could share what the question was so everyone knows.
Yeah, a question I've seen a couple of times is about the music offerings and musical theater.
Great. So I'll start, and then anybody else can hop in. So I'm just finishing my 4th year at Lyman Moore, and in that time we've done a spring musical each year. So that's, a big production, 30 to 40 kids involved, and, big deal. This past year we had a parent who was really excited to bring some other theater offerings to Lyman Moore. So she ran a workshop for improv in the fall, where they put on a variety show, which was super cool. And then she did a 1-act play also in the winter, which was phenomenal. So those were, that's the range of musical theater and theater offerings that we've had.
Awesome. I see a question or two about Spanish immersion class offerings. Do we know them yet?
We do. So Spanish immersion is a program that's scaling up for next year. So in 6th grade, we'll be offering a Spanish language and culture course every day to keep the Spanish language acquisition going. And we'll also be offering 1 core class in Spanish for students who are in that program. And that's almost definitely going to be a math class. So 2 blocks a day for students in the Spanish immersion program will be fully in Spanish immersed.
And sort of in that vein, there's a question about math differentiation for math. How's that working?
I can keep going. Also, somebody else can jump in if you'd like. But so all of our classes are heterogeneously grouped to start 6th grade. In the last couple of years, we've been heterogeneously grouped for the first trimester. So a broad range of students. And what we've actually found is that the curriculum we're using has incredible access points, and it has incredible challenges for almost every kid. So we're thinking about keeping those heterogeneous groupings for the full year next year, and supplementing the 6th grade math class with additional support if students need the support, an additional challenge if students need a challenge that's not being met. The curriculum is really good, and our math teachers are incredible. So we're doubly lucky there.
Jumping topics a little bit, there's a few questions about different types of after-school offerings and late bus, and how does that work? You want Jake to take that one?
Yeah, Mr. Giesman, you want to speak to that one?
Sure, I was just typing an answer to that. Okay, so one easy answer is that on the Lyman Moore website, there's an athletics button on the lower left. And I think if you click into there, you get into Ms. Siegel just posted it. You'll find some different pages that list all the different athletic and co-curricular options. I believe we have 4 seasons of sports, a lot of options. I think boys basketball is the only sport we have that has cuts. So pretty much if you want to play any sport, you can. We have clubs that range from book clubs to Lego robotics. We've had chess club, game club, Dungeons and Dragons club. And one thing that Mr. Donaldson has been really great about is if kids have ideas for clubs, he's really worked with them to try to make it happen. Late bus, if you are eligible for bus transportation, then you can there's a late bus that runs after the 3:15 teacher support period ends. It's been running leaving school around 3:40 to 4 o'clock. Yeah.
Maybe for Miss Lafayette, just a reminder of how houses are created. Someone's asking about how do we place kids in houses?
Certainly. So we collect all of this data from teachers. I also, I had Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting with fifth grade teachers. And they let me know if there was for instance, if there was a student who either had a hard time making friends or was very shy, and that perhaps there was a good child to pair with them so they would have some sense of comfort coming to middle school, or students who perhaps should be separated because of problems with getting along that have been something that's contributed to problems for them. The teachers have given us a wonderful amount of information. And then what we do is we use that information to try to create 2 balanced houses. I noticed there was a question in the chat about if there's sort of a smart house and then a less smart house. And it's really not. We really believe that kids do better in a house that is really mixed in terms of everything you can imagine. Just if you were to just break out the demographics, we try to make sure that there are similar numbers of students with IEPs in each house, students who have English as an additional language in their home, students who, oh goodness, have 504 plans. I mean, everything you can imagine, we try to make sure that we're balancing the houses so that there's no one house that is the place to be and the other house is less than. We work really hard to make it so that we have 2 really strong houses. And I always feel like it's a good sign if the sixth graders argue with each other about whether their house is the best house, because typically no matter which house they're put in, the kids will feel like their house is the best house. And I feel like that's the way it should be.
I'm seeing a couple questions about language offerings. So I can take that and Ben jump in if I've missed something. So sixth graders can choose Spanish, French, or American Sign Language. Those are year-long classes that operate on our red blue day schedule. So it's technically a related art. In that they have it every other day, but sixth graders have choice about that.
Can I jump in on that, Ms. Hagstrom?
Sure.
Typically, when school is in session, we send a letter out through the fifth grade teachers to all kids and parents can sign their children up for first and second choice for their world language. The world language that they choose for sixth grade, they'll stay with all 3 years. There are a number of teachers fifth grade teachers who reached out to parents and asked about that. There are also a number who didn't, and you will be hearing from me by phone at some point this summer, at some point very soon, and I will ask you about what the first and second choice languages are for your child. We try really hard to give everyone their first choice, but sometimes it isn't possible. There are a limited number of sign language seats available. But we do our very best to get people their first or second choice.
Ms. Lafayette, can you give a little insight into what kinds of things you learn from fifth grade teachers when you hear information from fifth grade teachers that helps you make decisions?
It can be something about a learning style that a student has, or it could be something around different qualities that they may have. It may be, if a student is very sensitive, then, I'm going to want to try to put some people who they're familiar with and comfortable with them. Oh goodness, I'm trying to think.
Jump in, Ms. Lafayette, and say that we always host families who want to come visit and make a connection over the summer, talk about needs, or just get familiar and comfortable with the building. It might be a little different with COVID-19 this summer, but we could do it virtually or outside, or we'll figure something out. But
absolutely.
Mr. Donaldson and I both work all summer, except we're taking next week off.
I noticed a question in the chat asking if siblings are often put in the same house as their prior sibling had been. And it's not necessarily so. I mean, sometimes we do, but sometimes, you know, if we're not aware of, for instance, because I work with only certain grades, I may not be aware of an older sibling. And so I may not think to place them in the same house or even know whether or not that was a good match. Plus the fact that one sibling and the other can often be very, very different. And we want to make sure that we're using the individual student's identity as what we're using for placement, rather than assuming they're like their sibling.
I see a question wondering about the time, around what time letters are sent out about classes and houses.
Yeah, so those will go out by late July at the very latest. So another thing to point out that's super important is I saw band, chorus, and orchestra come up a couple times. So I've clicked back to the schedule here. On Tuesday and Thursday, we have part of the day that's dedicated to supported study. So that's kids having access to their teachers to get help to do academic work. And so those are really important times in our schedule. And those are also times when full ensemble groups for band, chorus, and orchestra can meet. So those are 2 mornings a week that those groups get together as big groups. And then smaller groups of kids get together and do lessons for bands and for orchestra throughout the week. And those teachers rotate through and pull kids from different parts of their day to try to limit the impact on other classes. But band, chorus, and orchestra all available, and students can sign up ahead of time or when they get here in the fall. The first couple weeks, we help kids sort out a lot of the things that they want to be trying and doing to start.
Mr. Donaldson, do you want to talk a little bit about lunch? How our lunches work?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
one specific lunch question is, does the whole grade eat at the same time?
Yeah, so typically, yes, we eat by grade level. So all of our 6th graders have the cafeteria at one time and eat together with their teachers. And then the 7th graders have their own lunch and the 8th graders have their own lunch. So the idea being there that, you know, we have time that's, you know, social and that's, you know, louder and more exciting. For a lot of kids, they love lunchtime. And it's an opportunity for kids to connect and be together by grade level. So typically we, you know, have a salad bar and we have all sorts of options. And when kids come for step up day, 5th graders, they love the lunch because the pizza we hear in middle school is just like worlds beyond elementary pizza. So, so in the fall, all of that will be determined by, you know, what's safe and what the safest way is to, you know, provide food for kids. So, so there's been some thought about eating in classrooms potentially, but we would still do lunch by grade level. So provide some level of contact with grade level peers during that time.
And one thing to add, there is a quiet lunch option. If a student needs a quiet spot, we can absolutely make that happen.
Yep. Nice.
And one other quick answer, I think, is somebody asked, do houses compete against each other, or is it for organizational purposes? It is to organize. It is not a competition. And the goal is to meet every kid where they are in their house and help them get the best out of their classes as possible.
And the theory there is instead of 175 6th graders all kind of moving around and doing whatever, you can organize, and with 85 to 90 kids in a house, like that's a group of kids who shares the same teachers, and it's a way to make the school feel smaller for kids, and that's a really positive thing. But it's, yeah, to organize and keep things feeling small and connected.
Can I say something?
Go for it, Ms. Dubley.
So for me, as the social worker, the house teams and the advisories are really critical, and we really noticed that when the school was closed, that those houses had an identity and the advisors had an identity. with the students that really allowed us to stay connected in a way that felt safe and productive. So that system of advisors and then a house was really so beneficial during this period of time when things all got kind of crazy. So when things are not crazy, it's a lovely thing. And when things are crazy, it's a really helpful system and structure that all kids, I think, felt taken care of by their house and by their advisor.
A couple more sort of class size and house questions. One is how many students per class? And then a different question is, will kids find out who else is in their house before school starts?
So classes really range in size. So some are really purposefully small if the type of support that students need determines that it should be a small group of kids. So that might be 6 or 8 or 10 if that's the need. But most classes typically are going to be in the high teens to low 20s. So 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe in some cases 22, 23, 24, with the exception of phys ed, which can be 45 or 50 kids with our PE teacher and our ed tech in there. And those classes are huge, but they're really well run and they're amazing. And Ms. Hagstrom, I'm forgetting the second part of that question.
Do kids find out who else is in their house before school?
Thank you. So kids talk a lot with each other, but we don't post the lists anywhere. We don't do that kind of communication. We send it out to individual kids and families. And then when kids arrive on the first day of school, we meet together as a whole grade level, and we'll have all of the 6th graders together for at least one day in the fall, just 6th graders. So we'll meet and then we'll divide by house, and teachers will organize and kids will get to meet their advisor and spend time with that small group of 10 to really kick off the year and help them get settled with us.
Mr. Giesman, and actually all of student support, can you talk a little bit about how you handle a bullying situation?
Sure, I'll start. I'll start by saying that almost every interaction you're going to have at the school is going to be positive. Kids and adults are nice to each other. It's a loving place. But there are times when some kid is going to be mean to somebody. And punishment is not going to solve things by itself. So we do try to diffuse the situation, neutralize it, but we're going to make sure that parents are involved, that we're partnering with kids and families to make it a growth experience for all parties, get at the root of what's going on. And that can be really complicated sometimes. And so the short answer is that we take a long time to work through it. We do have some written protocols around it, but I would say that beyond any written protocol, it's really about caring about all the kids involved and their families and trying to work through it together. I don't know if anybody in SST wants to piggyback onto that. Good. Okay.
I would just add one thing to that we're committed to helping figure out what's causing conflict between kids. And so often it takes a little bit of time to help kids and families sit down and figure it out. But we're not doing a lot of reacting to something that we see without really understanding what's causing that behavior or what's causing that conflict. I just think that's something that we've gotten better and better at. And Mr. Giesman and Ms. Hubley, our school counselors, help a ton with interpersonal conflict that, sometimes kids need a punishment, but they also almost always need, love and support to figure out whatever the conflict is that they're having. So I'm really proud of the work that our team does in that spirit.
Oh, I was going to say, Ben, I think the the thing we try to really communicate to kids and families is that we want the place to be safe and happy for everyone. So that's the intention. And so I really feel like over time, that's sort of become the culture there, that kids want it to be safe and good for everybody. So the work to sort of smooth out some of the stuff that gets mean sometimes gets easier for us, because there's a culture that it's saying we want to be safe and kind to each other. So it's easier than it has been in the past.
Ms. Hagstrom, anything you see that we haven't yet discussed?
I don't think so. Although if someone feels like I missed their question, could you retype it? I think I've gotten them, but I've been scrolling pretty fast.
And a couple other thoughts just while we give people a minute. If you come up with a question, I've shared my email and phone number here. Happy to connect. As Jake said earlier, we're here in the summer, and it's usually really helpful for some kids and some families to see what the hallways look like and walk through, and we can certainly do that safely with you this summer if that would be helpful. The other thing I want to make available is Miss Lafayette, and if you have questions about world language placement or house placement or anything like that, Darcy can be reached by email, because she does a bunch of work over the summer to help us get ready for next fall.
Ben, the one question, a couple more questions are popping up. This is great. Are there any free times during classes?
So teachers really are responsible for the time that they have with kids. So they build into that opportunities for kids to revise work or do less structured activities, but I wouldn't say like kind of free for all time. I don't think that's like, it's a really short school day, so we tend to keep kids pretty busy. The only thing that comes to mind is sometimes our advisory lessons or our advisory time can feel or look less structured. So on Friday afternoons, typically an advisory would play a game together to end the week. So if you come here on a Friday at 2:00, you might see a couple groups playing tag over here. You might see some kids playing hide and seek over here. You might see others, putting on some kind of theater production. It's pretty wild and creative what advisors come up with in that time. And generally it's a really fun way to end the week. But I wouldn't say that there's a ton of like downtime, free time, just sort of kids do whatever you want during the school day. It's a very precious time we have with your kids every day. So
speaking about classes, is sex ed taught in 6th grade health?
Health is not taught in 6th grade, it's taught in 7th grade. So, and there is a portion on family living, and that's part of the curriculum. We do have families and students opt out every year. So that's, as that comes up in 7th grade, we'll kind of cross that bridge with you when we get there.
And a question about advanced academics, and I'll take a stab and people can add in. So one of the cool things about proficiency-based learning is that in every class, you have the option to work toward grade level, which is the meets, and you have the option to exceed, which is going beyond grade level. So that sort of takes the place of like an advanced class. But if you are like, I've got this, I get the 6th grade stuff, your teachers are gonna be working hard to give you stuff that feels challenging and interesting. So that you can work toward getting a 4 and work toward the exceeds level. And that's the language that we use. You can always say, what's the exceeds for this?
And we're at 7. So if anyone needs to sign off, you're certainly welcome to sign off. If you'd like to send an individual question, you can do that. If you'd like to hang out for a little longer, we'll stay right here. But I just want to say before folks sign off that this is just a small part of our team that's going to be here to support your kid and you as you transition this kid or these kids to middle school next year. So we're just at the very beginning of the journey, and we're really looking forward to working together with you to get to know your kids and support them and learn to love and appreciate them as much as you do. So really looking forward to working with you over the next 3 years. Any other thoughts, panel?
Just want to see them all together and happy and back in school.
I just wanted to echo what Mr. Donaldson said. I know a lot of parents may be concerned about their children coming to middle school, so certainly please feel free to reach out to me through the email. I'm happy to call you back, talk to you on the phone, or just communicate through email. But I think the more we start the connection between home and school, the better. So.
I don't think we've caught up with all the questions.
I think we're close.
We're close. And if we, thanks, Kiara. Are we going to wear masks? We don't know yet, but so just a word on coronavirus stuff. The district created 4 different possible scenarios for how school might look like in the fall. And all summer long, the adults are going to be working on task forces to fill in the details. And early August, we're going to know what school is going to look like in the fall, and Mr. Donaldson will be communicating out to everybody. But rest assured, whatever it looks like, it's going to be fun. You're going to learn, and it'll be safe. Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead, Ms. Hagstrom.
Do you a question from a parent? Is the Welcome to Middle School video on the website? Will that be public?
Yes, we will post it on the Lyman Moore website. Yes.
And similar, this is being recorded and will also be posted.
Correct. Yes.
Shout out to the kids who have been asking really great questions. And parents.
We missed our 5th grade step up day this spring, but it gave us an opportunity to welcome the rising 6th graders to this event. So that feels exciting.
Watching seeing the slideshow at the beginning made me really, really miss all the kids. A lot of good memories there.
Great. So it looks like we'll sign off here. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And we're looking forward to being in touch in late July with your house placement, and then in early August with more details about what the fall will bring. So we'll talk to you in early August. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Awesome, you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good job.
It's tricky to balance all the questions, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it was kind of fun actually to be like, oh yeah, and that too.
Yeah, and what individuals will need versus what the whole group will need. So it gives you a nice opportunity to answer individual questions, which is neat.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for so much of your late afternoon, early evening.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, good work.
Good work.
Hey, do we have dates for the leadership meetings yet or not yet?
The week of July 20th, I think we settled on that Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay. So I'm finalizing content leaders though. I'll reach out to you. Yeah, we have a couple more final decisions to make. So.
Okay, that's good. Yep.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you guys.
Good night.